Hey, this is Daniel from Adorama. I'm here in my studio in New York City, and we're shooting with a lot of lights. So, one of my guys showed me this video of a Sports Illustrated shoot where they basically had only 1 minute to shoot with each of these athletes. And what the photographer did was, he set up using zones 3 or 4 different lighting scenarios that he could fire one after the other really quickly. That way when the athlete got in there, he could have so many different looks with the athlete and then have them out really quickly. So I thought, that's a great idea. Let me give it a shot and do a video on it. So that's what we got today for you. So this first scenario I'm calling a crisp. This has got a nice white background with a classic softbox in the front for a nice portrait look. Basically, the way I have it set up is 2 V-flats, one on either side, white on the inside, black on the outside. Behind each one is an acute head plugged into a 2400 watt-second power pack, and I've got a medium gray background here. So I'm overexposing the background by approximately 2.5 stops, which is making it white. And with these V-flats here, what that's gonna do is make it so I don't get flare back, because you gotta be careful when you're blowing out your background like that not to get flare. It's giving me a little bit of a rim light, but not so much that it's flaring my lens. In the front, I have a softbox fitted with the grid, so it's giving me a nice look right across the front of her face. It's a little bit centered so that I don't have too many shadows, so it's good for both men and women. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'm on zone A, which I'll talk about in a second, and I have Marissa here. She's gonna look a little bit towards the softbox, and because this is a nice white background, she should be smiling, because people always smile on a white background. So that gives me classic white background shot, nice softbox. It's gonna be good for anybody. So for the second look, so this second look is the polar opposite, moody. We're gonna keep all the light from it in the background, which is gonna turn our medium gray background black. The way I'm doing that is I'm using a beauty dish with a grid from one side and a small head, a B2 head with a grid from the other side, 25 degrees and 20 degrees. They're set so that she has a separation light here so she doesn't just fall into darkness, and this one lights up her face nicely. Now for this, especially for a woman, I'm gonna have her work towards the light. You could have the person look straight forward as well, but it'll create a little bit more shadow on that side of the face if that's what you're going for. So let me show you what that looks like. And now we have, again, in the next frame, we've gone from a completely white open shot with a white background to a moody black background shot. Third setup, I'm actually doing something similar to what the photographer did in the Sports Illustrated video. He called it warm cool, so I'll call it the same. Essentially, I have a head floating on a boom stand above the background with a blue gel, and I varied it a little bit by making kind of a streak of light down the center, so it's gonna be like a streak of blue down the center that's gonna fall off to a dark gray. And in the center, above my camera, I have a Profoto Magnum reflector. So I've got it set up, this one has a CTO gel on it. So this one's gonna be, my white balance is set on flash, so this is gonna be really warm, and the background's gonna go really blue. What I'll do is, since I'm shooting raw, in post I'm gonna go in there and tweak my white balance on these shots slightly. Depending on the skin tone, I might bring it down to 4500, you know, etc. I want it to be warm, but I don't want it to be so orange that she looks sickly. So let me show you what that looks like. So now I've got this shot. It's very, very colorful. It's lit from the front, classic beauty shot. Also good for men because it squares out the jaw. I've got this like kind of hard light from the center, and then I've got the background has a nice color. So I've added a little color splash in there. So the way that this works is, I'm using here Pocket Wizard. You could use pretty much any radio system that has zones to it. And what I've done is I've set my lights up in different zones. For the first shot, I have the power pack and the softbox on zone A, okay? So by being on zone A, when I turn my unit on that's only gonna fire zone A, it fires just those flashes. Beauty dish for the second shot, zone B, right? And then for my third setup, both flashes are on zone C. So what makes this work, the key to making this work, is that you need to use a light meter and set up all your lights so you're getting the same exposure on each one. I'm always shooting at a 5.6. So I've metered all my lights, I've set it all up so that when I shoot at a 5.6, I have a perfect exposure on each one. That way, whoever jumps in here, if I'm not doing all 3 looks on each person, let's say that for some people I want the white background, some people I want the moody look, whoever's gonna jump in there, I can never have to change the settings on my camera, right? I'm only switching what lights fire. And then I can just work through it. And if I'm working with a model, let's say, and I have a few minutes with each one, I can set it, let's say on A, I can work it, shoot 5, 10 shots, whatever I want, then switch to B, work her the other direction, switch to C, and work that, and have somebody, you know, in 10 minutes have 3 completely different looks. So, sure, this might not be practical to do all the time with this much equipment, obviously, not everybody has all this stuff, but if you're doing events, you're doing a CEO portraits, things where you just don't have the time to be with the people, to spend the time to change the lighting, this could be a great way to work. And it doesn't require different setups. I only have the one background I'm working with. And of course, you can rent all this stuff. Not everybody owns 6 or 7 lights like we're using here. So as a little bonus here, and not every radio system can do this. I happen to have the Pocket Wizard Multimaxes, which are not made anymore, but you can get them in camera stores and used departments. Adorama probably has some in our used department. So this Pocket Wizard has something that's called Speed Cycler. I basically go into my menu here and set it up. And you see it says Speed Cycler on top. What that does is it fires the A group, then the B group, then the C group, and then starts again. So since I have my camera as a motor drive in it, I basically can have the person step in, fire 3 frames per second, and essentially have 3 completely different shots in about a 1 second. So what I can do here, like with Marissa, let's say that Marissa's a CEO and I only have, she's like, you got 1 second. I can have her step in, get her where she looks kind of neutral, kind of forward. She'll look decent in all 3 shots. And I can use the motor drive of my camera and literally go like this. And now I have 1, 2, 3 completely different looks in 1 second. So I hope you find this useful and you can use it in your work. Again, you don't necessarily have to have 3 setups. You could just have 2 setups if you're doing, let's say, portraits and then wide shots. So it just gives you some options. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time on set.